new year as I did with my family, and that you had a chance to have some restful times and some memorable times. Ms. Felton, welcome back from
My journey.
Denmark, which was probably the greatest trip that any of us had.
It was not a bad hunt.
There you go. And with that, we have only one item on the agenda for the work session, and that is for an update on the efforts to continue with the Bryan Road Elementary project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm going to try to be as succinct as possible. I will tell you that we have, over the past month or so, spent about 9 hours in public hearings with the town of Garner, so I guess that means I get 18 hours with you in order to be able to give you equal playing time. But I will try to see if I can be more succinct than that. As many of you know, we have for quite a while been working with the town of Garner staff and its leadership in terms of getting ready E31 Bryan Road Elementary School. By way of a short background, approximately 8 years ago now, the school system acquired a 50-acre site on Bryan Road in the town of Garner for the construction of an elementary school and a future middle school. At the time that was discussed in terms of an acquisition, your staff was talking, as they always do, with the Department of Transportation for the state about whether or not Bryan Road would be paved or not. At that time, and still today, Bryan Road is a two-lane secondary road that is on the state-maintained road system, but it's a gravel road. And so, at that time, it was on the priority system of the Department of Transportation to pave the road. And so all looked well in terms of having that road paved in time for when the school would open. Over the course of time, because of CIPs, because of recessions, because of a whole host of other issues, the school was not built then, and it was delayed until now when we're ready to start the site planning process for Bryan Road. As we submitted the site plan for Bryan Road for the approval by the town of Garner, the Department of Transportation no longer had the money to be able to pave Bryan Road. The formula for paving state road systems, secondary roads in the state, had changed in approximately 13 or 14 to more of a priority-based system where they look at the entire state. As a result of that, this particular road, because of the traffic counts, were not on the level that it was going to be able to get funding in time to be able to open this school. So, the town of Garner was very concerned about having a new elementary school on an unpaved road. Their approach to us when we went for the first public hearing on the site planning process, and it's a special use permit, was simply to say, we will give you a special use permit on the condition that you, the Wake County Public School System and the Wake County Board of Education, build the road. Well, the cost of building this road is not insignificant. You will hear tonight that you're talking about in the millions of dollars to build a road. This road is about a mile long. It is two-lane. It has a curve that needs to be taken out of it to straighten, and a whole list of other things to be able to get it to the standards of where buses and other traffic can safely travel. And so in talking with your chair and your vice chair and working through this, there was direction in those consultations about not automatically accepting that special use permit and trying to work through the issues. So we had multiple conversations. I advised all concerned from the legal standpoint of where you stood in terms of that type of condition to a special use permit. And as a result of all that, we eventually met with the leadership of the North Carolina Department of Transportation and had a meeting to discuss their involvement in paving this road so that your dollars could go towards facilities on your campus and not on a state road. We were very insistent in the fact that the school system is in the business of building schools, you're not in the business of building roads. In addition to that, there's obviously the economic impact to the town of Garner because of the number of permanent employees you're going to have with this facility. You know that we've talked before that this elementary school will serve as the swing space for Vanderwerf Springs Elementary School, which needs to be renovated, I've been told. And so we're talking about not just this elementary school, we're talking about this elementary school, we're talking about the swing space for Van Door renovation, and then we're talking ultimately about the middle school. So we have the meeting, and during all this period of time, including Christmas breaks for your staff, New Year's breaks, they have all been working through the holidays to be able to work to see whether we're able to find a partnership among the Department of Transportation, the town of Garner, and this board to achieve what everybody would desire, which is to be able to have a paved road that is not on the backs and shoulders of you. We had a second public hearing with the town of Garner to work through these issues. They continue to insist that they wanted to be able to have lots of bells and whistles and standards of this road that really increase the cost of it. We continue to work through all these issues, and ultimately last night we had our third public hearing with the town, and at the conclusion of that meeting, we have achieved from the town of Garner a very positive result, which I wish to talk to you about for a few minutes. My approach last night, I've sort of been the guy who's been taking all the bullets during all the meetings. I've been your emissary in terms of what we have been telling them, but and I have no problem being the guy. But my approach with
And we had no problem letting you be.
My approach with last night was we want a partnership, and here's how we want the partnership to work. We want the Department of Transportation to approve a road design that are to standards of which it would be as if they built it. Not necessarily to somebody else's standard, but we want the road to look like what it would look like if they built it. We want the Department of Transportation to be able to assist in the funding of this road. We want the town of Garner to approve a road design to what the Department of Transportation would approve, which is somewhat different from what they may approve for other roads in their jurisdiction. And we, the school system, our partnership piece would be, we will design it and we will manage the construction along with the building of our school in conjunction with that, and that we will contribute also significant dollars towards the construction, because we always do when we build a school, have turn lanes that we have to build and other acceleration and deceleration lanes, which is normal for any of the schools in terms of road improvements we make in proximity to our particular site. So we're willing to put some money towards the road from that standpoint. What we did not want to do is to have to build a road that was far off our site. And if I may real quickly stand up to give you an aerial, here's Ryan Road. It starts at Clifford, it moves up to Ackerman Road, which you see there at the top here. The school side is what you see in red. What we always talked to town of Garner about was the fact that we would be making certain road improvements from our southern boundary to our northern boundary, but as to the piece from the southern boundary down to Clifford, and from the piece from the northern boundary up to Ackerman, we didn't think that was your responsibility. And so we have now been able to get an agreement with the Department of Transportation and with the town of Garner, where this will be a two-lane road up to this point. The yellow you see here will be a three-lane road that will go from your elementary school campus to your future middle school campus, which will be a turn lane that is recommended by your traffic impact analysis for this site, and then it'll then go back to a two-lane road. This will be a road with ditches on either side, and then sidewalk on our campus on the other side of the ditch. It will not be curb and gutter, which is a significant cost factor, and one of the items that the town of Garner last night ultimately agreed that they would not require for our site planning process. And so that is the partnership, and I do want to say that I appreciate the town of Garner who worked very hard and struggled through this decision and ultimately made their approval last night. They did approve the special use permit for the school. Therefore, they did approve the site plan for the school as we submitted with the campus facility, as well as the revised road design that we are in favor of doing, which is the Department of Transportation standards. And so that is what they approved last night, which is what I asked for them on your behalf in terms of their part of the partnership. Where we are now is that we are still consulting with the Department of Transportation about whether or not they're going to fund and to what extent they're going to fund the cost of actually building the road. And so we have been spending significant amount of time with their district engineer, with their division person in terms of what the actual cost is, in terms of what they believe the cost of the road would be, what we believe from our consultants the cost would be, to see whether we have basically an agreement that this is what it would cost. We all know that obviously if the Department of Transportation were to build the road, they have not necessarily the same expenses that we will have, because we have a CM and other expenses that any private developer would have that a state and a state road crew may not necessarily have. So there's going to be a difference there, but in terms of just what the cost would be, we've been working through that. I think that we now have that number finished, or about finished, and the next step now will be, per the conversation we had when we met with the Secretary of Transportation, is that their leadership will now meet internally to see what monies they can find available, and depending on that amount, how much they're willing to contribute to this. So we do not have a final answer tonight of how much the Department of Transportation will contribute. We're positive, we're optimistic that they will see that this is something that needs to occur for the safe travel of buses and for the people who are attending the school, that legislatively in North Carolina, the Department of Transportation is responsible for buses in terms of traffic, of maintaining and repairing roads for the safe traffic of buses so that children can move from their home to the school by way of bus, and that's their responsibility, and that's in the North Carolina General Statutes. And so we have explained all this to them and working through that, and we are positive, but we don't have a final answer now. But the purpose of today was to give all of you an update about where we've been, where we are, and then I believe that we need to have some conversations later in terms of a closed session about where we're going, because we do have a construction schedule that is moving ahead simultaneously with this, and we have certain milestones that are getting ready to happen. I need some direction with you in terms of some conversations about where we go, and letting you ask me some questions that would probably be best served through intern and client communication.
Okay. So we'll do that after the regular session tonight. Questions? Bill?
I'm not a question, but an appreciation for working to bring together different points of view to find a solution that'll work for Garner and for us. And hopefully DOT finds some money to put back on the table a project they had committed, air quotes, to at a previous date. So thank you for your effort.
Well, I think that this is an example of how local, state, and other boards can collaboratively work to achieve something for the taxpayers. Originally, when the Department of Transportation was looking to build this road 8-some years ago, the conversations that your staff had with them was, you know, it doesn't make any sense for you to build the road, for us to then come in when we're ready for the school and then tear up part of your road to then do our improvements, and we're wasting taxpayers' money. Let's do this all at one time. And they agreed that that was not a best use of taxpayers' money, which is why they deferred their work. Unfortunately, no one knew at that point in time that the funding mechanism was going to change, and here we are today. But I agree that's what we're trying to work through. Joe reminded me that part of the special use permit last night did have 2 conditions which we were agreeable to. One is the fact that there is, if you could go back to the last slide where you just were.
I think
The
the
road.
intersection,
The intersections are.
the intersection is on this slide on the far right.
North of our site, we will be building a sidewalk from the edge of our campus on the south along our frontage and ending approximately where that black line is. So that would be a sidewalk that we'll be building as part of our school construction. However, we do not own, as you see, the red part, which is the remaining from our boundary all the way up to Ackerman Road. That's not owned by us, and so therefore we normally would not be putting a sidewalk there. The town, at some point in the future, probably wants to have connectivity to our campus, and so we have worked with them in the fact that when they're ready to do that, as a condition, that we will jointly work on the remaining of our sidewalk that we normally would do, and then theirs in a joint cost-sharing arrangement on an equal basis. There is some floodway areas there, and we may, at that point in time, depending on what the regulations, may require a flood study, may require some innovative thinking in terms of how to do the sidewalk to be, provide the least impact to the flood area. And so we've said together that we'll work on that together in terms of sharing the cost, and that neither party can enforce on the other party to do it unless both parties agree. So that's one of the conditions. The other condition was dealing with some signalization improvements that the parties have agreed to work on together in terms of upgrading some signals as a result of traffic counts and those type of things, which is somewhat standard. And so those are the two conditions that are on the site plan that were added last night without any objection from us on your behalf. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Christine?
Thank you, Mr. Haywood and Mr. Desirable. Again, I echo Mr. Fletcher. I think all our sentiments to thank you for that work. There was a question that the commissioners raised yesterday about impact fees that I know that impact fees are not charged to developers, but in some form we pay for the impact of our development or are asked to fund certain projects based on impact to the township, the municipalities in Wake County. And I was wondering if at some point, not today, but at some point we could get a sense of that so that we can convey that to the commissioners, because I think that didn't get fully answered last night.
We pay impact fees all the time. Traffic
That was
input,
my- right.
infrastructure.
That was my
There are all
impression.
kinds of impact fees we pay.
And I think
They're just not formal fees.
No, they're formal fees.
Anytime you do it.
They're formal fees. We're treated like every other developer in town.
Let me, as an example for this, how much do we have in this project for those road improvements? Is it 1.5 million?
And if I may, Ms. Kushner, part of what you're asking about, we have done, staff has gone back and looked to see over the past several years worth of projects, what I'm going to call off-site road improvements or other
That's what they're
improvements
called.
That's different. That's different than an
That's
impact
different.
fee.
the school system has incurred as a result of road improvements, signalization improvements, widening roads, whatever it may be. And I think that we have that type of information that whenever you want to set that up, we can share with you and talk about it, both in terms of why that has occurred, what the position is going forward, and what the legal position is. Part of this I'll share with you, which is fun here today, is it's important to note in North Carolina, the law has, I don't want to say changed, but has been clarified as a result of a North Carolina Supreme Court decision a few years ago, and exactly what a private developer can be required and not required to do to achieve a driveway permit issued by the State Department of Transportation. And as a result of that particular Supreme Court decision, the ability of the state has been tightened to be able to require that you go off your site however many feet or hundreds of feet to do things. And that is part of what we emphasized here with the town was town under the U.S. Supreme Court decisions, under the North Carolina Supreme Court decisions, under the state law in terms of the General Assembly, the legislation, is that you as a town have a limited amount of authority in terms of what you can require. on the school system. The state has a limited amount of authority. Based on that, we want to work with you. We want to collaborate with you. We don't want to just put up a stand arm and say no to you. We want to build the school, but you've got to recognize the fact that there are limitations. And I think that we've all worked through those in terms of an understanding of it. We may not all agree wholeheartedly about what they are and what they aren't, but I think that there's this particular site is one where the off-site infrastructure improvements that were being asked were beyond anything the school system has ever been asked before. You are being asked to pave an entire state road a mile's length that again was a state road. And so that's why this is where we are today in terms of how you have said, wait a minute, we need to really look at this before we just agree to all of this.
Well, I think your example also that we're trying to save taxpayer and public dollars by doing things collaboratively. So I think that's the path we need to go down. So thank you very much.
If I could offer one clarification, I think the question the commissioner raised was whether or not any municipalities in Wake County collect impact fees for schools, whether or not developers are taxed with impact fees to contribute to school construction. So that's why the answer was no. It wasn't that we don't have impacts as if we paid fees. It was whether or not that existed in Wake County. I understand it exists in some. I think someone mentioned that Chapel Hill may exact those sorts of fees. So I think the
They have
question may have
permission
been
to.
slightly different.
I think that's what I
Statutorily,
understood.
we don't.
Well, I appreciate your answer.
But
Not
two
yet.
follow-up.
Not yet would be the answer.
2 points I'd like to make, and again, thank y'all, because I can attest that they were working between Christmas and New Year's full time on this, because I got phone calls from them about it. How many of you, have any of y'all been out and actually seen this road? I don't know your impression, but I finally rode out and looked at it, and you describe it as a 2-lane gravel road.
It is
Gives it a lot more credibility than what I would give
like
to
a-
it.
It's a pothole
It's a dirt
path
road.
through the woods.
There you go.
It's a
With
country dirt road.
virtually no development.
Right.
There's about 5 houses at one end of it with a new
And
development.
they all know
going
it's
in.
you when you
Yeah.
come down the street.
Um, So we're talking about a
They remember
totally
you.
undeveloped area. Because my question at one point was, well, for sure, we're gonna have sidewalks so people can walk to the school, but there's nobody to walk. I mean, there's literally nothing
Well, from
along
Ackerman, there's some folks, but.
this dirt road with a little bit of gravel on it, which I would call a 1-lane path, not a 2-lane road, but I guess that's in the eye of the beholder of what it actually
Well,
is.
it depends on the right of way that you have, so
Exactly.
whether it's developed or not.
So I think that was one of the key eye openers to me, that when we looked at, we would literally be spending bond money that was supposed to be to build schools, to construct a road, not to offer improvements to an existing road, but to construct a road, which was quite a bit of a difference than what I think we have ever done before. So I appreciate the fact that DOT and the town of Garner and us have been able to collaborate, which leads into my last point, and that is, if you all would recall, and Keith, you were leading a part of this discussion, approximately 2 years ago, we had a joint meeting with the county commissioners where we talked a lot about a task force being pulled together to look at building some uniformity and some commonalities between what the various municipalities, state and county governments were requiring, and see if there's any way to make that any more efficient. I understand that that group may have met once or twice, but I think when we have our joint meeting with the county commissioners coming up in about a month, that may be something we want to re-explore to see if we can make this a more efficient process, because quite frankly, at one point last week, I was afraid we were going to be coming into the night looking at delaying this project for up to a year, or either not building it, which would have obvious impacts on Vandora Springs. So again, my hat is off to you all for the work that you've done. I appreciate very much what the town of Garner has done. I'm looking forward to hearing what DOT will in fact do. But if we could do something to prevent us from getting to the brink of these situations in the future, I think it would be to everybody's advantage.
I
Any
found
additional?
background information very helpful
Yeah.
as to what led us to the place where we are, so I appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
Well, I was thinking about that. And appreciate you raising the point. I thought, well, maybe this wasn't the appropriate time to raise that, but I'm certainly thinking about this was one of those situations where if we had that sort of task force conversation, collaboration, what have you, the process, that we may not be, again, at the brink of a situation.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, well, with that, we have completed the business for the work session, and we'll start our regular session. Well, I wanted to sort of end this session and
Okay,
then
all right.
talk briefly about the calendar, because we've got about 3 minutes before our regular session. We corresponded by emails during the holidays about a time change for the board retreat that was coming up. There was consensus to, or unanimous agreement to postpone it. There was not unanimous agreement on whether we would do all-day Saturday, half-day Monday. Virtually everybody was saying, I can do Sunday afternoon if you make me, but I'd rather not to. So I think the two choices are really, do we do all day on Saturday or half-day Saturday and half-day Monday evening? So do I hear any suggestions from this group so that we can,
What's the Saturday date?
February the 20th, I believe?
So
With-
the options are.
All day
How many
Saturday.
total hours are we looking?
Probably 6 to 8. So 6 to 8 on Saturday, or 3 to 4 on Saturday, and 3 to 4 on Monday, late afternoon, evening.
6 to 8 hours or 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So we're looking at 6 to 8 hours of work that we squeeze either into Saturday, or we divide it up between Saturday and Monday evening.
Well, since it's gonna be snowing that weekend, we might as well go ahead and we'll take all day Saturday.
The general consensus was to do all day Saturday, but there were 2 or 3 who had some real problems with that.
Yeah, I won't be able to do that.
So, what's your wishes?
So Keith, what do we need to do to accommodate you? You want the 2 half-days? Because I know you had to leave the last time we had a retreat. Maybe not the last time, but the one we did in Garner, you had a conflict.
Let me just confirm the date, 'cause I think I've
February the
already.
20th and Monday
Okay.
the 22nd.
I'm for Saturday.
If we did split
I'm sorry.
Saturday, we wouldn't do Saturday late, I'm assuming.
I'm sorry, Jim.
If we did do Saturday, we would probably not do Saturday late, we would do Saturday early.
Depends on whoever has a
If,
conflict before.
if Saturday were not the day, I would be doing Park Scholar interviews, but I don't have to do those.
Yeah, I've got plans that have probably been on for about a year, where I'll be out of town Saturday. I could
All
do
day?
Monday, all day.
On Monday.
I could do Monday. I
You
would
can
not-
do Monday, but not
I
Saturday.
won't be able to do any on Saturday.
And Monday, Christine's out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out of town Monday.
Executive decision,
Okay.
That's why you get the big bucks.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get with staff before the end of this week and come up with a plan.
How many people could not do Sunday afternoon?
Are you gone the whole weekend? He's gone the whole weekend.
And that appeared to be the only weekend that we had available until May.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah. So I'll get with the staff and just we'll
And follow
follow up and say this is what we can do and see if anybody, if you have any other ideas, let us know. Okay? All right, so, move to adjourn work session? Do we have to?
No, we're just
We're just closing.
leaving.
No.
We're closed and we'll start hopefully in about 2 minutes.